Gela Kaslahamba Solokulatse.
Nugo Owadi Gaislanaka Kwapasutino Kwapnis. Muskaba Taudeno. Awega Husilaka Manwastam Kwatnala. Manwastam Genokai Kaslokulatle. Kaskluk Walamayukwana. My traditional name is Owadi. I'm Chief Bob Chamberlin of the Kwapasutino Kwapnis First Nation of the Muskaba Taudeno people. Our territory is known to many of you as the Broughton Archipelago. Our territory is known to many of you for all the wrong reasons. You know full well the impacts that the fish farm industry is having on the wild salmon in our traditional territories. And we're here. I'm very fortunate to have a number of my hereditary chiefs, the true title holders of our territories. We have the full spectrum of age groups here with us to stand in unity so you can see that the Musqueam Taudeno people has not wavered for one moment in our opposition to open net cage fish farms. Our First Nations are not very large in terms of numbers, but our voice will not falter. Our voice will say the same words again and again and again. It don't matter which government or which DFO minister we need to rally towards, we will. And we will always say the very same thing. We put a greater value on healthy, abundant wild salmon stocks than we do on Norwegian companies' profit margins for their shareholders. When I think of the long history that our people have in the Broughton Archipelago, it is time immemorial. It is a territory and resources that the Creator has put forth for our people to enjoy, so that we can develop the world that we know in the way that we want it to be. Not by some company's decisions to come in and pollute at their will. Industry will have one attachment to our territory, and that's based on profit. And the minute that it's unprofitable, they will be gone. And our people will still be there. Our people will still be relying on the resources that we know are there to sustain our people. We know firsthand the impacts that this industry is having. We know firsthand the denial that the government of Canada continues to perpetuate to prop up and support an industry that just makes absolutely no sense at all. As has been mentioned earlier, the Cohen Commission is underway, and I'm not holding my breath. When I listen to the contradictions and I hear the experts give half answers and cover their butts, it tells me that they're not going to be doing much in terms of affecting change. This underlines the fact that each and every one of us must stand up and make that change happen. As sacred as profit is to the shareholders in Norway, so is your vote for the MLAs and the MPs in your territories. You must effect that change with your voice, with your letters, with your emails. You must organize your families and get them to express how they feel. Ask them, do you appreciate wild salmon? Simple as that. And then we can start messaging in large numbers to the government where they cannot ignore us. And as Canadians, I want to draw your attention to one simple thing. You hear it time and again that there must be one law for all Canadians. And I say to you all that the highest law in the land is the Supreme Court of Canada. And I'm here to tell you that the government willingly, wantingly, ignore that very directive from the highest court in this land. The court says that they have a duty to consult and accommodate First Nations when issuance of license within our territories. I tell you that did not happen in the Broughton Archipelago when they rolled over 100 licenses for fish farms. It's just completely unacceptable that the government of Canada can deny and walk away from and lay waste to a ruling of the highest court in the land. To me, that's unacceptable, and to you as Canadians, you should have a great concern, because this strikes at the very thing that is called democracy. Because that court is there to look after your rights collectively, and the government is not doing what they need to in relationship to respecting those very same decisions. On your behalf, right now, this very moment, Canada is declaring to the world that they support the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. This is what they say for you. And this is what they're telling the world. And I encourage all of you to give that document to read, because in there it gives quite clear direction to them, and it enhances what comes from the Supreme Court of Canada, where it talks that the government and industry must come into our territories. They must deal with us on free, prior, and informed consent for any activities that are going to go on. We have an obligation to look after the environment and our territories as we want to see it, not defined by government. It must be defined by our people. I want to thank everyone that has taken time in your busy day to be here today. I want you all to notice and recognize that the Union of East Indian Chiefs Executive is here, all three of us. We have countless resolutions from 100 First Nations in British Columbia that talk about moving open net cage fish farms out of the water, and let's move it towards closed containment. Quit buying the rhetoric from industry, because they have a well-practiced script. If you look around at the way they've conducted themselves around the globe, the first thing they want to do is talk to you. And then they want to pretend that it's meaningful. And then they want to really understand what it is your point of view is. And then maybe they want to meet with you again and talk about science. And all the while, government supports this. This is delay, deny, and distract. It's business as usual, make no mistake about it, and yet the Supreme Court of Canada is very clear that business as usual is no longer acceptable, and yet your government allows it to happen. And I want every one of you to get in touch with your MPs directly and let them know that that is unacceptable, that they have a duty and an obligation to you as Canadian citizens, to walk the road and conduct themselves in an honorable fashion, because it's beyond time. It's time for us to act in unity. It does not matter if you're a First Nation from the Saltwater or a family from up the Fraser River. Very honored to have Marilyn Baptiste here talking about Fish Lake, because this to me underlines what it is that we can all do together. When the insanity of that proposed mine was known to British Columbians, there was a large cry that said no. And we stood up again and again and said no. And as a matter of fact, the government has had to withdraw this or not approve this. This to me shows the unity and strength with you as Canadian citizens and voters across the province. We must stand up and say no to fish farms. We must stand up and say wild salmon are the most important resource that we have, and remind our governments that there is a very rich industry that is available, that has been the backbone of British Columbia and small communities and certainly First Nation communities up and down the coast. And we must remind them that is what we want. That's what we want. I don't want fish farms in the Broughton Archipelago. I want our First Nations a voice, opinion, and direction for our territory to be respected. And I wish that everyone would do the same. Now I'd like to turn the mic over to one of my hereditary chiefs, Quenquin Kulikadzi. As one of our hereditary chiefs of the Gwawinak tribe, he's been asked by Chief Charlie Williams to deliver the message that has been heard time and again about the zero tolerance position that the Gwawinak hold. Gaelic.